Welcome in, Frostburg State fans. I am Logan Walsh, joined by head football coach Eric Wagoner here to talk about some of his recruiting class after National Signing Day yesterday. Coach, pretty nice class for you guys, about 20 to 25 kids that you're going to be bringing in off the bat, and obviously some that might get added later on. But what are so far your overall thoughts on this class and how you're going to build this team for next season?
We're really excited about the class. We hit on a lot of guys that we wanted to. We're still in some battles, like you said. There's going to be some guys that are going to be added here a little bit later, hopefully on our end. But the needs that we wanted is what we went after. We knew positionally we needed to fill some spots, some depth. We've started to cycle through the first class of Division II recruits from that 2019 class with the bonus COVID year, so filling in some holes was really the biggest part of it for us and kind of setting the depth for future classes.
One of the biggest position groups that we'll talk about first, the offensive line. You ask any football coach in the country, they'll tell you that number one priority should be about winning in the trenches and bringing in some big bodies there in that offensive line, as well as a couple tight ends that we like to use as well to help blocking up front. But for that offensive line group, obviously your offensive coordinator, Trevor Miller, also works with the offensive line. What was kind of your looking for and your needs for filling out that position group specifically?
Well, we've graduated 10-plus offensive linemen the last 2 years, and it's been a big point of emphasis. We took a big class last year too, in numbers and in size, and we said we wanted to go back to back with those size of classes. So that was a big priority for us. One of those positions where we're still fighting for a couple guys to build up the future and ramp up the development of those guys. So we know in this conference you have to be good up front. You're not going to win the conference and compete in this region with linemen that can't get it done. The tight end position, obviously graduating Seth Fitzgerald, Will Hall this last year made an immediate need for there, so we wanted to upgrade and get some big bodies there too, some bodies that are Will Hall type bodies that can block and do what we want to do in the run game, but those guys can also get downfield and catch the football too. They're going to be passing threat from that standpoint.
A point of emphasis from the team last season, one of the biggest strengths, the defensive back group, the safeties, the cornerbacks, all of them, number one in the country in pass efficiency allowed. Another big class for you guys in that aspect as well. And there's a little bit of a mixture there between, you've got some guys with height and some lankiness that, fill them out as they go along, but also some shorter guys with some quick speed. Obviously, with it being such a strength this year, what were you looking for from these guys that maybe build up some depth and get them ready to take over once your current group is able to move on?
That's the biggest part of it is our safety position is one of the most senior positions on the team. So what we don't want to do is graduate 2-3 guys from that position. Then next year we're going to look to get freshmen to fill them in, get guys that can come in and grow and mature behind them and be ready to step on the field, whether it's this year special teams wise or next year special teams and defensive back wise. The nice thing too is we're never not going to recruit safeties. 6'1", 6'2", 6'3" safeties can become linebackers. It can become a lot of different things. They can play down in the box. With us running more of a traditional 4-2-5, looking for back end guys is always a big priority. A big one last year, Carter Mazalewski was a safety his whole high school career, and he slides in here, puts some size on, and plays linebacker and helps on teams and things along those lines. So you really can, it's just a versatile position. You go out and take a flyer on a kid that's 6'2", 6'3", because you don't know what he's going to develop into. So it's always a position that you're going to recruit every signing day because they're really almost like a Swiss Army knife.
And back on the offensive side, we'll talk about the wide receiver group, where you're bringing in a little bit of a mix between some freshmen coming in and some incoming transfers as well. When you're looking for that, we've obviously had the last 2 or 3 years a balanced group where it's not just like one guy or two guys that we're throwing to it. Any given day, one of the 4 or 5 main receivers we have can take over. Is that something as well that you're looking to build towards, or do you want to try and get that one guy that can just you throw him the ball and you know what you're getting out of him?
Well, you always want that one guy. You want that one stud guy that, if you need a play, you can go to him. But balance is a big piece. And a lot of people may not know, in 2021, all 5 receivers that played and took 95% of the snaps were all seniors. And any given day, Malik could take over, Zay could take over, Kyle Belak could take over, Lincoln and CT. Any one of those games, you go back through all those games and you can find a game where somebody took over because they were trying to take someone away. So having options 3 guys, 4 guys, 5 guys that you can throw out there, with one that is that go-to guy. But if they're going to take him away, you got to go to somewhere else. So it was a point of emphasis, looking to recruit some, wanted to get some height in that position group. Wasn't just going to be all freshmen. The tough thing when you recruit freshman receivers, they're usually really skinny. So you got to get them in and get them in the weight room and put some size on them. So that's where a couple of transfer guys became really important for us, to add some seniority to that room, but still being able to add some youth as we go along too. 2022, the guys that stepped on the field had almost played no snaps, and now those guys are just building up through 22 and through 23. So now we're getting to a point again where that group's getting a little bit older, and we got to make sure we have depth behind it and guys that are playing. So, in 25 and 26, it's not all over again where, oh man, we got all these guys that don't have any experience.
With the quarterback group, then kind of the big one that everyone always wants to talk about, what's going to be the next big thing at the quarterback signal caller position. Graduating Graham Walker, who had an outstanding career here, but he's kind of been the guy for the last 3 or 4 years, and no one else has really had to step up. Now, last year, Miles Fulton came in, showed some glimpses, especially in that last game against Fairmont State, where you're bringing in some depth behind him as well with another couple of transfers and some freshmen. When you're looking at that group, it's obviously so tough to evaluate. You never know how good a guy's going to be coming in from high school up to the college level, or even from, a junior college or a different college that hasn't played much coming in here. With, coming into this position group, it's going to be a question mark. What are you guys looking for from your guys coming in this spring?
Well, very high on Miles. He's, got into the game last year, and that's his second year through the program, redshirted. So he's got a lot of understanding of the offense. And we've brought, and we're pretty young behind that. Jordan Brooks was one of our signees last year, and who's got some decent scout team time, got a lot of reps this last year, and then a transfer and a couple freshmen coming in too. I mean, you can't ever just go out there with a couple quarterbacks and expect that's how it's going to go. You watch, any college game, any NFL game, you lose your quarterback, you better have somebody that can step up and help, and that's where the depth's coming in and trying to recruit players that fit into our system. I really do believe guys that are mobile is a big piece of it. Obviously, we want to be able to throw the football, want to be able to stretch the ball down the field. But if the play breaks down, the ability, and not just mobile scrambling, the ability to move in the pocket, keep their eyes downfield, find an open receiver. From a defensive side of things, scramble drill is one of the hardest things you got to cover. And if you have a QB that can break containment, get outside the pocket, and find a receiver 30 yards down the field, that's a big play there. So we got some guys with some big arms that can make plays there, but they also have the ability to run the football if needed, move in the pocket. That versatility is paramount. It's filtered all the way up. It's been college forever, and now you watch the guys that play on Sunday and they can move. There's not a lot of Peyton Mannings around, and if there are, they're getting scooped up by the highest of the levels.
So filling out the class as well, we mentioned that you're going to have to bring in some extra guys and fighting for some battles right now that, signing day is really just the start for your recruiting purposes. What else, as a staff, are you kind of looking for to maybe a position that you want to fill out or just get some depth behind some of the guys that you currently have and positions? Obviously, spring ball is going to factor into some of it of knowing what you have, but what right now are you guys kind of looking to do and get prepared for this spring and going in training camp starting in the fall?
Yeah, people think signing day is the end of it and you just sit back and relax there. It really ramps it up after there. There's a lot of great unsigned players still out there, a lot of schools going after. There's a lot of guys in the portal that are people going to be going after. Obviously, we're bringing in a lot of young linemen, guys that we think are going to be good. Last year's class is starting to go through the winter program. We think they're going to be really good, but we need a veteran lineman or two that can step up and can help us. Whether it's a guy that's got a year left that can fill in some positions. The receiver position, I feel strongly about have a guy or two maybe just to wrap out that wrap up that class. Running back position's been really solid. I mean, we know we got some guys coming back there. Defensively, just defensive line wise. high school D linemen are great. You find some guys with frames. It's a lot like safety. You find guys with frames and you want to stack that weight on them, but a lot of times that takes a year or two. So if you're in an in between, I think we have a great talented defensive line. I don't know where our depth is, and then we have freshmen behind him. We got to fill in somewhere in that depth position. Linebacker's been a strong position for us a long time, and we talked about the safety position. We've recruited the back end really well. For us defensively, just finding a couple interior guys that can really build depth for us will be important.
Well, Coach, thank you for joining us today. We're certainly excited about this group that you're going to be bringing in, and hopefully, throughout the years, we just keep rebounding more. And as coaches like to say, you don't ever want to rebuild; you want to just reload every year. But we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, and wish you the best of luck here in spring ball. And we'll be talking to you in the fall.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you guys very much. Go Bobcats.